Yeah, sorry about the late start here on Cyrus says. But we get a lot of emails saying the show is so bad, can you make it less? So I thought if we start 2 or 3 minutes later, at least that brings down the hour to 57 roughly. Of course, today's episode may not be the worst of the worst because we have two young talents who are doing much more with their lives than, let's say, most, let's call me 40-year-old, even though I'm over 49 now. Um, Akhilesh is here. Akhilesh Anil Kumar is here. I'm going to talk about him in a second. Garvita may join us at any moment, but this is a fabulous part of the show. It's like a live show because it is live. And so Garvita will suddenly turn up. She's in the middle of a scrap downstairs in her colony over parking where she's punched Mrs. Mehra in the face. Mrs. Mehra is a paraplegic lady in a wheelchair who's 88 years old and probably has no more than 6 months to live. So while she's sorting out that fight, because at the moment Garvita is losing, Mrs. Mehra is a black belt, we will go to Akhilesh and start the show and then hopefully fit her in. Akhilesh Anil Kumar, ladies and gentlemen, take a look at this bright young man. I'll quickly give you a background about him because together he and Garvita, well, they are the faces of We the Change, hashtag We the Change. It's a movement launched by the United Nations India, which is United Nations, but the India chapter, I presume. He'll explain all that in a second. They represent the solution for young people who are pioneering climate action and a change in the world for the better against people like Donald Trump and myself who seem to not care enough. And I think that's the biggest problem, which he'll talk to us about. Their approach is innovative, sustainable, inclusive, words that you hear all the time. Let's see how we relate to them. And they work with communities on the ground for real impact. Obviously, it's not just talk, but that talk happens in a Miss India contest. Akhilesh, you have never featured in a Miss India contest. But in Miss India, like contests and Miss Colleges contests across North, South, East, West India, these things happen. You talk about sustainability and all these are the right things to talk about. You learn the words. But you guys are actually doing it, which is very commendable. I represent that plastic India. Hate to use that pun. Plastic India. That's a call from Garvita saying that she's very upset you started the show. Don't take it. Be very careful. She's already punched Mrs. Mehra in the face twice and lost. Uh, is it her? It's a
No,
live
it
show.
was
We
my
like to
alarm.
include everything. It was who? Your
It
alarm.
was my alarm.
Ladies
Yeah,
and
yeah.
gentlemen, our warrior who's saving the world one plastic bottle at a time has just woken up. His alarm was for 10:05 in the morning. Our show's at 10. Okay, Achilles, let me quickly introduce you properly. You're running an NGO which is called Bring Back Green Foundation, the on-ground action curbing single-use plastics, environment curriculum advocacy, and of course, documenting coastal erosion. These are huge, huge tasks. We'll get into each one individually. And then, of course, we'll come back and talk about Garvita and both of you all together. So let's feature you for the moment. Akhilesh, how the hell? How old are you?
I'm 21.
I mean, at 21, I was like chasing girls, being thrown out of bars, trying to flick my father's car without him knowing, begging for money so I could drink beers on the weekend with my pals. And you're spoiling the name of 21-year-olds going doing all this good work. How, okay, if you don't mind the personal side of it, how would a young Akhilesh, I mean, surely you're like a regular guy at the end of the day and all that. How do you really get into more than what we call the Mu Boli perspective, where we just talk, but you actually decided to do something? So where does that all come from?
So if I start, like, it's been around 3 years when I got started into everything, sort of working for social causes and things like that. So it's a time when I joined college. So at that point of time, before that also, I was a bit keen on starting something, working on different things, do different projects and things like that, working on small startups and things like that.
So,
But
but
then
you want to do a startup? So, are you talking about like repairing the world? I just want to know where that feeling of, because most people don't have that altruistic, if you don't mind me saying, at the 21, most people are not altruistic. It happens with some sort of, achievement in life and self actualization process later. Sorry to interrupt, Akhilesh. We are graced by Garvita's presence. Garvita, Akhilesh just finished the answer, and then we'll totally give you fanfare music and introduce you. You can get your Bollywood number, the one that you want to perform. Just practice it offline for a minute. Sorry, Akhilesh. So I just want to know like how you got involved as a 21-year-old. Because I was thinking, an age where most people aren't interested in anything.
yes. So it was like that, at the college that I joined, yeah, it was in Trivandrum, it's in Kerala. So yeah, it had a
Thanks for telling
different
me
sort
where
of vibe.
Trivandrum
Like
is, Akhilesh.
everyone is.
You must think, like, Garvita, what kind of guy is he? He thinks this old man is so stupid. He doesn't know where Trivandrum is. I mean, really? Let me tell you, I know 14 Malayali galis, which I can give you right now because my MTV was run by Malayalis. So please understand one thing. I'm almost like 25% Malayali, so be very careful, brother. And I will say none of those words, except maybe
I think
mere.
everyone is almost 20%, 25% Malayali.
There you go.
Every guy knows about like at least one Malayalam gali. So yeah.
You have to. You can't travel India without picking up the galis. How are you supposed to know these people? rickshaw walas all over India are evil. So I'm just going on the same point. I just want to know why this appeal happened without being cynical for a young man who, like I said, chasing girls and playing with the guys and looking at telly and Netflix and this and that. And where does the perspective of altruism and changing the world and helping the world and healing the world, where does that come from?
So that's what I was coming to. It was exactly
Sorry.
like in that point of time I joined an NGO.
He keeps slapping me. I'm sorry. Go on. Go on. Huh.
So I started working in an NGO just as a volunteer and stuff like that. And then, I kind of took up places like very quick. I became their campaign manager and social media manager within a week. And then, worked on their campaign, started understanding how to expand campaigns statewide and, interacting with people and things like that. And in between that, that's when the most famous Kerala floods happened. That was in 2018. And at that point of time, I participated in a cleanup. It was organized by actually another NGO, which was, kind of my friends and things like that. Because at that point of time, it was just wide networking. Like everybody is like, we are trying to network. And this network is like full, this socially, who wants to work for social cause kind of people. And then it was that kind of a circle also. So for this cleanup, it was like, we had to clean around 40 kilometers of a stretch of road, which goes to Munnar. Okay, I won't say it's in Kerala again. It's Munnar. Okay, so it goes to Munnar. So it's like a very famous, tourist road, but it just goes through the forest. But after the flood, couple of landslides happened. Still, people are traveling, but still, it's just plastic waste all around the forest, everywhere. And it's the forest department that actually came up with this event in association with an NGO. And the reason why they came up with this, they're reporting a lot of animal deaths due to plastic, and that happened after the landslide started coming in during the floods. Personally, I went there. I the moment of change was when I personally saw a monkey having a small monkey baby, and it's kind of having a plastic straw in its hand, like trying to feed it. It was like,
It was
what
the
is
monkey
happening?
mother was feeding the monkey baby with a straw.
Yeah, a straw. It was just too weird. It was too absurd. Like, the amount of trash we collected that day with just 100 people for 3 hours was about like 33 tons of plastic waste.
Oh my
And
God.
we did that, and that we did that just within like 3 to 4 hours. And that's what we had, this limitation of time to stop. Otherwise, we still would have kept going. There was so much more to
So what did
work
you do with
on.
that ton of waste? Did you dump it on Tamil Nadu border and run away? I mean, what was the option? That's what we would have done in Maharashtra. We just gone straight to the Gujarat border, left it there, and said, "Hello, boys." Yeah. So
I,
you were
I
you
think
were
the forest
sorry.
department took care of it. But what you were saying, like changing point exactly is like, where I decided to take my own action instead of, working with somebody else or things like that. Is there is this particular thing, that very interesting thing happened that during that whole cleanup, fiasco. So I was picking up trash on the side of a road, but
Mhm.
it was kind of a ditch, so I had to get down and walk a bit far away and stuff like that. And I'm collecting plastic waste. Just in front of me, there is this old guy who came with a two big sacks of I don't know what, and he just looked straight into my eye. While he didn't even look down, he just dumped two like full sacks of plastic in front of me. I was like, then that became like another thing that happened. Like I was like, should I
So what did
just
you
take
do?
action on this? So that's what I was thinking. Like, should I go pick it up, or should I complain regarding it? What will happen? We know the bureaucracy sucks and stuff like that. The officers won't take charge
Cynical
and
young
things like
man,
that. But
huh? But spot on,
and
completely
then,
correct. Go on.
and then I was like, okay, still I'll just make an attempt. I went to the forest officers. I kind of said like, this thing happened, and I don't know, they would, be ready to take action. They were like, okay, we're gonna go and set them up right now and shit like that. And then everyone just came with me, like, a couple of forest officers. We kind of went there, and then we realized it was an opening of a resort on the on the road. It was just the opening of a resort. And the interesting part is that the resort was run by the some counselor or someone who actually designed the waste management plan or something for
What
that
are you
area.
saying? Only in India. Go on, go on. Excellent.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then
He's
and
achieved his
then there
objective in a
was
way.
like
Yeah. Yeah. Huh.
there is a lot of a lot of very important people, we might say, and like everyone at the inauguration and ceremony and things like that. The officers came, they're like, call this guy down. uh they called
They
him
call the
down.
counselor down.
Yeah, they called the counselor down.
It's not bad.
We found like the guy who actually dumped the waste and bought both of them together and like said like, look what you did and stuff like that. And then we had an argument. Then I was placed in middle, and then that guy was like, I was the counselor, I know how to work with plastic waste and things like that. Then we were like, okay, yeah, but just look at what you did. And
So
then
you seem to have that Gandhian-like aggression, if I dare say. Mild-mannered in body language, but obviously go the full, right till the end when it comes to action to be taken. Or I would hate to
Yeah.
come across him. He reminds me of those, those Premchand stories you used to read in Hindi in school, Namak Ka Daroga and all those very upright men who stand up for the few upright men in the country. So apparently you're one of those. Akhilesh, can I
I,
stop you for a second because poor Garvita is getting
yeah,
bored. She also wants to talk, and
No.
then I'll get you are a sexist, evil man. Garvita was waiting while Achilles was going on telling you about how he brought Kerala officialdom to its knees. 21-year-old, not even 21. How old were you? 18. So it was 4 years ago.
I was
My
18.
God. Yeah, wow. We will come back, Achilles, to that. So basically, your story was you took action that very first time. That's like a very interesting thing, Garvita, what he's just mentioned, because a lot of us, I think, the first time you come across anything in India which is evil, in a sense,
Yeah.
we it's a make or break point where we either fight or flight. We either take it on or we just swallow it. And once we swallow it once, that's it. We're just immune to spitting, for example, because that very first time we didn't tell uncle to stop spitting from the car, from his BMW or whatever, and then we never do it after that. And so we just allow all these things to happen. So in a sense, that taking that
Yeah.
stand right then and there, I think that defines the fact that he would do something with his life going forward. Can I introduce you properly, Garvita? I talk a lot. You can interrupt me at any point. You are one of the
Yes,
greatest
please.
Indians the world.
I'm thoroughly enjoying you guys' conversation.
We've got a nice beat, right? I talk too much. He's
Yeah.
calm, cool, and collected. It's Simon and Garfunkel in a way. Of course, 40 years apart.
I'm
Garvita
I'm
Gulhati.
here to mess it a little bit and play into the connection.
The future is female. This world is going to either survive because of woman leadership or we're going to plummet to death. Okay, so please don't ever say that. Women are. I'll sound like a creepy uncle. All
See,
women
the
are
world
welcome on my
thrives on
show.
confusion, so it works.
Yeah, no. Don't judge by Akhilesh. He's one of the few good men. That's a rarity. So, Garvita, you're an engineer, social entrepreneur, on ground action, conserving water and minimizing wastage. That's your lexicon. You're known for your technology and innovation. And you have been recognized by Earth Day Network as an Earth Day Network Rising Star. And you were titled, and this would sound filmy, very Bollywood like, Water Girl of India, which I think Hema Malini also had that title for a little while. So, how do you feel? What a girl of India. Oh, that's quite nice. By CNN and the Jal Shakti Ministry. Oh, that's not bad. So the actual you got endorsed by the Indian government. But at least appears to be supporting. You'll tell us all about that. You were named one of the 40 under 40 environmentalists, pardon me, of the year in 2019, and also shortlisted for Forbes 30 under 30, which is a millionaire list, I think, in Asia in 2021. And in 2015, you founded Why Waste, which has worked with over, get this, folks, 5 lakh restaurants, 10 million people, and prevented over 6 million liters of water from being wasted. Wow, that's a lot. The two of you have done more with your life than, it's like when I listen to stories of Alexander the Great, dead by 32, and think, he conquered half the world. What did I do? And then you're the same, you've done so much, and what, 21, and I dare say, Garvita, not much different there. So, how do you explain yourself, Garvita? Same question we asked Akhilesh. Akhilesh, feel free to embarrass her and interrupt at any point. How did you get into this, Miss
No, I
Water
think
Girl of India?
I think Akhilesh is a good boy. He won't do it. You've given that as a testimony to us.
Akhilesh is that type of guy. I've summed him up already. I'm a pseudo psychiatrist, but I do have a decent record. He is a tough guy in a very tender clothing. He's the opposite of me. I'm full of bravado and all that, but actually I'm a bit of a softie. But he's the opposite. He's like, he's got steel inside, but outside you think, okay, this guy, we can run him over. He seems so sweet and whatever. But you can see that there's some counselor somewhere outside in the outskirts of Trivandrum who now is spending the rest of his life cleaning the road and picking up plastic, putting it in a bag, and saluting Akhilesh when he goes by on his bike. So yeah, c'est la vie, as the French say. Okay,
Yes.
so how did you get into it?
Sorry, I missed the last two words
No,
you said.
the most interesting thing is how you guys get into these things first. Not to be cynical about youth, but I just find it fascinating. Why
Yeah.
would young people have so much interest? It's one thing for your CV to get into Harvard, which is closed because of pandemic right now. But that's not it. You guys are the real deal. So, and you're doing it for years already, and you're so young. So, how did it happen? How?
So
Why?
about Cyrus, about 6 years ago, when I was 15. So this is when I founded Why Waste back in 2015. I was
Ouch.
15 years old. I beautifully go with the years. I became very deeply impacted by the water crisis that India was facing. So I started reading about farmers taking their lives due to the lack of access to water. In Maharashtra specifically, women and girls were walking miles just to get a glass of water that we got, without even moving a finger. And just a couple of months before that, I'd had this very intriguing experience. So I was in Ahmedabad with my family. We were just visiting, and we were at this really beautiful step well. So, firstly, it was ironic to see such an amazing architectural structure. Be, let's say, completely dry, that can and has a capacity to store so much water. And while I was walking through, there was this little girl who walked up to me. She rather ran up to me, and this was the second time she had come near me. And she had slightly tattered clothes and of that type. And I thought, she might ask me for some money or something. Instead, she pointed at the bottle of water in my hand, and she said, can I have some water to drink?
Wow.
And I gave it to her immediately, and she had the water. And coming back to, started reading more about the water crisis, understanding what's happening. It was increasingly overwhelming because I was just 15 years old. I didn't know what to do with, people who were, facing so much
But Garvita, the
uh,
opposite option was what? Not give her the water. I'm just thinking it would be really cruel to say, nah.
Like, but
Sorry.
I think the fact that she asked for water instead of anything else is what intrigued me the most. And then, through my process of learning about the crisis, I learned that 14 million liters of water gets wasted every year simply in the water that you leave behind in glasses at restaurants. So the little bit of water that we sometimes leave behind at
Yeah.
restaurants is actually amounting to 14 million liters. And it reminded me of that girl कि जिसका एक sip of पानी से she felt so much better. Her day was made, there was light on her face all of a sudden. And so I was it just created this link in my head. And while I was struggling to figure out what to do, where to start, I realized that I think restaurants is where I can start building impact and really wipe out this 14 million liters of water number. So I started visiting restaurants trying to convince them to save water, but in vain, because none of them wanted to take advice from a teenager. And a lot of our ideas also didn't immediately comply with them. So went back. It spent about 6 to 8 months. Would have visited over 100 restaurants myself. Studied every angle, every bit of the restaurant, trying to figure out how we can save water in the glass itself. How can you conserve that water? What is the idea? What is an idea? What is a concept?
Smaller glasses? Garvita, sorry to interrupt. What about smaller glasses?
So it was not economically feasible for a lot of people.
To have
But that's
quantity
a
will be
great
a
idea.
problem.
That's what a lot of people have done actually now. But whoever could, could afford to do it has done it. But there had to be some kind of an idea that everyone could immediately implement that worked for, all of the communities, all of the systems. So after a lot of reflection, I came up with this idea called glass half full, where you save, where you fill the glass only half instead of filling it full. That way people take just as much water as they need. They don't waste. And you start looking at water with an optimistic perspective because you look at the glass half full. And so that's sort of where it all started. And after taking it to about 30 restaurants in my locality, I realized this needs to go beyond. This needs to go to restaurants across the country. So that's when I wrote a petition to the NRAI, which is the National Restaurants Association of India. And we took it to the 5 lakh restaurants with them. Again, of course, getting to them was insane challenge. Convincing them was another challenge. I spent almost a year or two trying to, a year first to get to them, and then a couple of months to actually, go ahead and figure out how we can collaborate, convince them that I'm not just doing time pass. We're like, we're in this for real. We want
And it's
to.
good PR for them, isn't it?
So that's one of the things we finally pitched, saying, you know what, this is a very this is going to show a very powerful collaboration between a young person and an association, and we're going to be like a global model, and it worked. So
But sorry, I was just thinking, after you harass them, finally they buckle and give up and say, "चलो ठीक है, बात बात इतने बार फोन करते हैं तो जाने दो, we'll do it." Then you call up out of the blue just to book a restaurant table for your mom's birthday. They'll be like, "Garvita, no, band hai, restaurant band ho gaya," because they hear your name and they're now scarred for life. They will just worry, what's a new theme? Because you're going to say now you only eat with your hands. There's no need for cutlery or whatever. Yeah. But wow, 5 lakh restaurants, that's not a small number. Akhilesh, were you impressed?
Yeah, definitely.
So how did you two meet then? We get into the whole We the Change, the hashtag We the Change movement, which is both of you together. So how is it just because I suppose in the world of environmentalists also you have your own, like we have Federer and Djokovic in tennis, or Virat and, Steve Smith in cricket or whatever. So y'all are like the rising stars in the environmental world. So you've probably heard of each other and all that. And were you pitched together? How did this harmony happen? And what is this We the Change? Hashtag We the Change.
Who
Akhilesh, do
wants
you
to
want
go
to go?
first?
Okay,
uh,
maybe I'll just give an intro quickly.
yeah.
So, We the Change is a campaign by the United Nations for young people, and the idea
Because
is to
they've
take
given up
this.
on old people. Yeah,
No,
there's
it's
no point.
of young
It's
people
true.
for everyone.
No, it makes
It's of
sense. I
everyone.
think old people's habits are just too. I mean, look at Akhilesh's. The guys you were dealing with are all old people who were. It was like 14-year-olds who were, throwing things on the road at that very first time when he had his, moment realization. Let's say. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. No. So the idea is to take stories of young people who, like, Akhilesh and I, and of course all of the phenomenal youth across the country who have been really solving problems at the grassroots levels, who have pioneered solutions locally in their communities, to take it to policymakers, to decision makers who can really, help scale that impact, who can use these solutions that have already been proven, to be to have created the impact that they can, and to really take it to the global stage and use these ideas and empower them. And this is leading up to COP26, which is the summit where all of the global leaders come together and meet to convene and talk about our global climate goals, and of course, their commitment towards it and how much they have been keeping up to it ever since the Paris Agreement was signed back in 2015.
So I'll ask you a dangerous question, Akhilesh, since you haven't spoken for 20 minutes for some reason, obviously writing your memoirs already. How do you convince people? Like, I think majority of people you'll deal with across the country in different cultures will be the type who want to help you in a sense, because most people aren't, let's say, necessarily bad, but they're just, lazy or lack the motivation to actually do anything. I mean, very few people are actually that bad who are like, let's have more plastic. It's not exactly that conversation. It's more a fact that we don't do anything, right? It's a lack of action. So how do you get us to come out of our coma, so to speak? People like me, for example. I totally understand what you're saying, agree with what you're saying, don't deny anything you're saying. But how do I land up doing anything? Life catches up and don't land up really doing anything.
See, I think there are two sides to this, question. So one thing is personal responsibility is there, but it isn't the only thing that can actually help change the world. So personal responsibility is needed, but if we don't see the people who actually pollute and who actually do the dirty stuff to take responsibility, we will have the question like,
What's
why
your
should I
phrasing? What is
change?
this dirty stuff you're talking about?
pollution pollution
Pollution. Yeah.
Yeah. So so if the companies and the policymakers and things like that, who should actually be really responsible, who should be actually the people who starts cleaning up, if they are not really taking action, and we sort of push the narrative to it's the each individual person's responsibility to start taking care, it's somewhere where things have a problem. And along with that, we need people to actually start making change, and that's by through awareness. And I
So let me
think these
understand. You're
be the
saying
change.
the leaders of society, the politicians, the bureaucrats, industrialists, the big film stars, whatever, celebrities, etc. You need them to first start the action, and then the others will follow. Is that what you're
Not
saying?
exactly, like the policymakers, the politicians, as and the companies who actually contribute to this. So for example, like I'm pretty sure Garvita would know. She's from the waste area as well. So if we have a EPR system in place, I also work with the Break Free from Plastic International Network as a youth ambassador. So f- you know we need to establish, if companies have a plan for for example Coca-Cola, they just make bottles and put it out, after that their job is done. So if there is a plan to somewhere take it back, or if there is a plan for that bottle to be held responsible by the company itself, even if it comes at a cost of maybe a few extra rupees, that bottle does not have to be the responsibility of the person who actually used it. It will be taken back by the company. It will be dealt in the proper way, rather than polluting multitudes of African countries by their bottles here and there and everywhere. So
I've come up
the
with a solution. Actually, sorry to interrupt. Just see if you can use it. I've come up with this funnel test tube with a plastic, not plastic, but some kind of thing at the top, so that only drops can come out like an ink pen. So you can literally just drop by drop feed a person water. Hence, we can actually go into drop culture where you have 10 drops each, like you do with kids. You know. So just think about it. I know it sounds funny now, but it's an option going forward. We'll look how cost effective it can be. Now back to you. Sorry.
And you said that you're not thinking about these things.
I'm just trying to help you
You're
guys. I know where you're
missing
coming from.
something.
Your whole idea was other glass or whatever, so it's like 50%. So I'm saying we can make it even less. We can make it one drop, one pull, as we say. That's it, at a time. Can you imagine how you will appreciate water when you're
Yeah,
thirsty? Like that poor little girl that you mentioned in the beginning.
absolutely.
You open your mouth and
Absolutely.
just take one drop, and then you'll count 7 drops, and that's great. And instead of full glass, exactly what you said is fabulous. Not just India, across the world, I've noticed we just leave it. 10
Yeah.
15% minimum average, 10 to 20% average of the glass is always left. Yeah, but what to do? The other thing I was thinking of, I don't know if it can help you, is that why can't we share one glass, especially families and friends? Why? I know pandemic and all that, but if we know each other, we've taken the shots, we should all in the same tribe, same group, should be allowed to share one glass
I think
or
it
one
happens in
bottle.
college, but it doesn't happen outside college because it's too fancy to.
No, I think it's a lot about
So we were more
your
wise in
own
college, is Akhilesh's
consciousness.
point. No, I think we become too. What is the right word? I don't use the word sissy, but urban Indians are just too scared
Sophisticated.
about it. Yeah, sophisticated, too scared. With that comes a fear of everything.
Yeah.
Fear, fear, fear. I'm saying one glass. Like he said, in college, you didn't think twice. You bought one Coke. Sorry, not to endorse. Ronaldo told me not to endorse colas, but you bought a Coke, and then five people would, I mean, I remember growing up, if some richer kid would get the cold drink, we'd finish it like a pack of dogs. Yeah, the poor guy would get one sip and we'd kill him. And nobody would think about the juta, puta, and all that. Tak, 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 tak. He's passed down and gone. And nobody got sick, to be honest, from what I
Yeah.
remember, ever.
Amazing
So without
immunity in
knowing it,
college days.
yeah, so obviously it's also a more secular time for the most part. People all hang out together, etc., etc. Maybe we should just stop there. Never leave college. That's what you've taught us. We should remain in our 40s, 50s, and 60s inside the college with the same group. The only thing is we are aging, but we have the same attitude. We're like one tribe hanging together, all fun and games, all good. I'm learning so much, guys. Thank you so much. Yeah, okay, I interrupted. So just a little bit more on what you want us to do. You said corporates have to come. Obviously, they play the biggest role. The ministries play a big role. The bureaucrats, the councillors, those kind of things. Because localization is important also. Per lane, as he mentioned in the beginning, it's just that one road that you have to police properly to see that that is kept clean, etc. So all those things come into it. And then what about us then, the general janta, the general public?
That's
So,
what I'm coming to. Like, oh yeah, Garvita, you can go on.
oh, okay. Okay, fine. Huh. So, I think when it comes to the general public, right, at the moment, what a lot of people are lacking is that they don't even know the adverse impact or effect that they are having on the planet. Let's say, for example, if I ask you today, do you know how much water you're consuming on a daily basis? Do you know how much waste you're generating on a daily basis?
I know, I know.
You
I don't
know?
want to show
Oh,
off.
okay.
I know. I drink more than 5 liters of
Do
liquid
you
per
know?
day.
Would you know your carbon footprint? Okay.
Look at the armpit. See how I sweat in 18 degrees temperature, which is not allowed by ecological reasons. Yeah, but I just sweat. It's just my DNA is like that. Except for Rahul Dravid, I've never met anyone who sweats as much as me. Sorry, Garvita, you picked the wrong guy. I, I need lots
No,
of
I'm
water.
having fun. I'm having a lot of fun. But I think the idea is a lot of people today don't know how much, what are they consuming. Let's say, for example, a person on an average in India, a person's daily water consumption is 450 liters. A lot of people don't even know how that is adding up. One person generates over 3 to 4 kilos of waste per day. Again, a lot of people don't even know, and I think it's a lot more. Maybe Akhilesh can correct me over there, but the waste that is generated per person every day is a lot more. See, most people don't even know of the impact that they're having because they haven't been educated about it. When we talk about the environment or climate change, it's always these big scientific terms that just go over most people's head. And unless you're like someone who's deeply, passionate about it, or a scientist yourself, you're not going to read into it much. So I think the first step for, folks like the general janta that you mentioned, I think the first idea is to pick up these resources and tools where you can actually measure how much you're wasting. So just as an example, what we've built at Y Waste, we've most recently built a mobile application that allows you to calculate your water footprint and then takes you through very simple steps on how you can start conserving at least 100 liters of water every day. So what are those small habit changes you can have in your life that can actually, Hanji?
Sorry, I've just got another question. What about recycling? We drink water from a lake which we pee into. So, in a sense, the water, whatever goes in, comes out. And so we keep the same margin all the time.
Yeah.
I know
So
it might
I'll
sound
tell you
unhygienic, but there's a
something.
way to purify the urine as it goes back in,
It
which
is,
can be
there is,
done through a filtering
absolutely. So
process.
I'll tell you something about that definitely. But before that, I want to
You're
tell you about
humoring me. How
radio.
sweet. Go on, go
Sorry.
on.
In any sort of sector, whether it's waste management, water management, there's reduce, reuse, and recycle, right? When it comes to reuse and recycle, what happens is most often you are when it's of course reuse, it means you have already consumed a good that was probably a want and not a need, and that's why you are going ahead to reuse it. And when it's recycle, there's a lot of energy that is consumed within the process of recycling. So when it
Correct.
comes to reduce, reuse, and recycle, amplify, reduce to the maximum extent, and then go into the other two. So which is why sort of I am always advocating for reduce. But to
So
tell you
don't drink
about
water. We come back. We've come down to. I finally understood what your message is. To older people, don't drink water. Leave it for the young. Figure it out. Yeah.
no, no,
So we can have a
but
whiskey, but without water. I'm just trying to put that all in my little biodata. Yeah.
but to make
So,
whiskey also you need water.
how? But I'm not saying it's a compromise, no, Baba. We can't be mad now. So you have the whiskey,
Ha,
but now you
ठीक है,
can't have
ठीक है.
water. Or you have the
You
water,
know,
don't have the
when
whiskey.
I
You
used
you decide. That's up to you. Yeah.
in the
Akhilesh is
beginning
in a
of
quandary.
college, in the
Akhilesh,
beginning
whiskey
of
or water?
college, when everyone was like just
Water.
introduced to alcohol,
Sorry,
all my
Garvita.
friends used to be like, save, drink alcohol, save water.
Well, how much can you consume unless you're a real hardcore alcoholic? How much can you consume? Three, four drinks, as against, what you said, exactly what you're saying about parties and all. Just think. I mean, you guys have already thought about it, I'm sure. You have these big parties and events before this pandemic. Even a simple birthday party of 40 people or whatever, that's where it just gets wasted left, right, and center.
Yeah,
Because half the this thing is left open, nobody finishes anything, everybody tastes and drops it and all that. And that's again length of breadth of 1.3 billion people ka houses across the India. I mean, that's huge, a huge number on a daily basis celebrating something or the other. So that's
yeah,
a maybe that's another huge area, right? This collective entertainment issue areas where we are even worse behaved
yeah.
in terms of environment. So ban parties, ban drinking water for old people. What else? Reduce more than recycle. So what if you drink your own pee, like Muraji Desai, the greatest Indian politician, used to do? It's a true story. A lot of people, it's
I'm
supposed to be
very
very healthy
worried
to
to
drink your.
answer that question.
It's called urine therapy. It's actually proven scientifically to be very good. But you drink your own pee. You can't drink other people's pee. It's good for you. So in a sense, you are now a bottling plant. You're a plastic bottle of yourself, which is not plastic. So I'm just putting it out there as ideas because as an older person, I'm trying to help because I couldn't
We're
save the
coming
world and
up
you
with
still can.
absolutely whack ideas today.
I think this
I
is
see
why
that.
we need youth leaders.
Yeah.
Okay. I
Oh,
came here to be
that was
abused.
spot on.
Unbelievable. Insulted, pushed around on my own show by two youngsters who's double. If I double your age, you're still 8 years younger than me. Can you imagine? Unbelievable, really. Yeah. No, but listen, this is great stuff. What you're doing, I'm not just impressed. I'm just trying to find. I'm almost cynical. I can't believe that thinking back to 21 and all. Not that we didn't do. I love animals, for example. Do whatever I can for them. But the way y'all are doing it on an aggressive footing with proper sort of planning, like military generals, and you're only 21. I mean, she's going back and talking about 15. And this and that happened to her. I'm just thinking 15. I can't remember anything except exams and cricket scores. I'll tell you another story, Garvita, very quickly. The girl came for water, and you said, you obviously felt bad and gave it to her, and then you had this cathartic effect, as Akhilesh did with the gentleman who threw the plastic in front of him. I have a friend called Kunal Vijayakar. We were at a signal. Okay, he does a food show. He's a fat guy, and we were eating ice cream, Baskin Robbins ice cream. I had chocolate, and he had butterscotch. And an old lady came beggar, with watts and all that, and started begging. And it was a long signal, and he's eating the ice cream. So I said, just give it to her. She's right in your face at the window. And he said, no, she won't appreciate butterscotch. You give her chocolate. It's a waste. Now, this is the kind of Indian we're dealing with. So I'm just trying to tell you, in his heart is a discerning point. It's not a point of charity and non-charity. He's saying, I don't want to waste butterscotch. She's never had it before. She won't accept the enjoyment. It's to refine the taste. So you give her the chocolate. I don't know how you're going to deal with this. Is the kind of people we have in our society. I'm just warning you. I'm not the only idiot. There are all
No,
kinds of
we're here
morons
for
out there.
that. We're here for a long time to do
You'll
exactly
have to be
that.
very
Please, all
patient.
of them.
And you guys are dealing with senior people. Firstly, there's an ego issue. You're going and
Yeah.
telling a bureaucrat, Achilles, I don't know how you got away with that. Firstly, that the forest guards came on your side. That's amazing. I would think they'd say,
Yeah, but
Bacha,
still they
Bacha.
had to hide me away. Like when we were walking back, you're like, you have to leave on the next bus itself. Don't wait until the cleanup is over.
Why? Threat?
Like you never know what that guy is gonna do. He looked so
But that's
pissed because like at the end, like the
of
range
course, you
officer
brought
came
him
and
to
we are
his
like,
knees.
Yeah.
You brought him to his knees because there's no way out of that. He's supposed to be the counselor. It was his whole grand
yeah,
idea, and then he's a
and it
hypocrite.
was his
And then
own research opening. So
he's got
we pulled him out of that.
I mean, if it
Wow.
went viral on social media, you shot some stuff and whatever, I made a little 3 minute story. I mean, it would have reached bloody Belgium and Germany and all these countries talking about Indian politician as usual. You know how they like to defame us, rightly so, of course. It's not like we've not done the wrong things. So yeah, credit to both of you all. Firstly, let me give you some plaudits and claps from my side because it's amazing at 21. I hope you don't turn cynical, but I guess what is it, Lord Byron, famous Indian poet, who once said, "The days of our youth are the days of our glory." So, guys, you're doing great, and I expect you to win the Padma Shri, Padma Vibhushan, Padma Lakshmi, everything that's available in India. Uh, Akhilesh is laughing. He's got a crush on Padma Lakshmi. I can tell you right now. Suddenly, you know who she is, right? Mr. Environmentalist. Ah, you know about the ladies or not? Don't do acting under that. You have this nice look of this, very
We are
nice.
humans too, right?
Ah, that's what
See,
the counselor is going to
Lord,
say, brother. That's what the counselor is going to say, right? When you pile up the plastic bottle, say, "Galti hui, abhi kya bolu yaar? We are humans. It happens." I'm sure you're going to get a lot of people who are because they can't challenge you really because you're on the right. I mean, unless they're completely mad, they can't challenge you. So it's going to be, but it's going to be a long battle. Just very quickly. So what's happening again on October 26th? There's like a forum.
Akhilesh,
Uh,
you want to talk about it?
I'm very much unaware about it.
no,
We're
sorry,
talking
sorry.
about
You said that.
COP26.
Sorry,
Oh,
COP 26, not OP
so it's not
26.
October.
Huh.
It's October end, right?
Yeah,
Beginning of
I think
November.
the COI is October end, and then COP starts the
Yeah.
next month. So COP is like where everyone, you will start seeing memes. You will start seeing a lot of things at COP. Last year it was a meme with Greta and
The
Donald Trump.
Donald Trump walking by.
Yeah, walking by, and she looked like okay.
day Trump
So
Towers endorses Greta, that's the day the world is healed. Huh?
Yeah.
Sponsored by Trump Towers. Clean up Trivandrum. Greta's there with Achilles smiling in the picture, Donald Trump's picture behind. Huge.
that would be like Modi's picture on the back on every poster.
Yeah, what's with that? Apparently, we're the only country with that. Yeah, it's a little confusing. I'm worried that all the documents that you have in India will have the picture. So the guy who's dealing with you in a foreign country he will be like, I don't understand. Every picture is just gone
I
one
think that
face.
happened also to someone. Sorry, going a little off topic,
Yeah.
but I heard when someone took their COVID certificate abroad, COVID vaccination certificate, they saw Modi ji's picture and they were like, "What is this?
This
This is a
isn't
fake
you.
certificate."
This isn't you.
And because she was a female, this is a bearded man. It's a long stretch. You can get away with a little bit. Yeah, well, good to know. So, but you've got a lot of, you do have some politicians now. I would think back in the 90s, not so many, but now a lot more. At least they say the right thing. I don't know if they do the right thing, but they will always say the right thing because they are savvy, they are internet savvy. They know that they have to project the right image. So, I mean, that's 50% of the battle. That's good enough if that's their motivation. I mean, what else? So you've got some on your side. It's not like how it was, say, 30, 40 years back.
See, if I may answer that, like, I would say I haven't received much of a negative thing from the politicians later on after that incident, because like once I started my own organization, I've been closely working with the key ministers, and like we do the
They
policy
learned
drafting.
they learned not to mess with you after the last guy is still cleaning up his own resort. It's 6 years later. Wow. Hmm.
So it hasn't been that bad, but yeah, there is a lot of bad experience. There is a lot of people who actually still don't care about it and things like that. And in Kerala, I think I, maybe it's progressive, maybe it's for to tackle the issues that actually get famous or things like that, but there are still a lot of issues that doesn't get to the limelight. One of those was coastal erosion, and that's why we had to actually start documenting it, showing it to people, showing the really harsh side of how people live. If I may just give an example, how things are, especially for coastal erosion, and in Kerala, especially in Trivandrum. I have been working on a coastal project for the past 1 year. So in the last 1 year, I went on my feet to this area to see how things are, to draft a report. We got the attention of the minister. I don't know how we got, like they got scared or something, I don't know. Suddenly we were doing the report, we got a call like, before you do anything more, just submit it to us, we have to see it first. So I don't know, that's how we started also, but we started the conversation with it from there onwards. Whatever I witnessed at that point of time 1 year back, I saw the exact same and worst this year, the same time, and there is no change. To be honest, like the people who are actually living there, I met two more line of housing colony at that point of time. This time it's just disappeared. Like I don't know where the hundreds of people actually went, either to the sea or like outside. They have lost their occupation and things like that. It's really harsh. Uh, and this also boils down to politics. Only if there is a significant amount of vote bank from that side, do they actually take action
So
against
others, what
these
you're
things
saying
and
is
things
they'll
like that.
just say the right thing but not really do anything because they don't want to ever
they
come
ha-
across as saying
they
the
have
wrong
to
thing.
do more things, I would say.
Yeah.
They
Okay.
do
Got it. Got it.
saying the right thing starts
I'm calling Shashi
conversation. Yeah.
Tharoor right now. Akhilesh, you have a word with him on. We'll add him to this call immediately.
Whoa.
Yeah,
No, he's put the phone
definitely.
off. He's put the phone off. I think he's had it. Finds me
He's traveling, he's
combativus,
traveling.
fantabulous, and meganocondus and words that whatever don't exist that only he knows. But yeah, well, I think we'll talk about him later. But I'm quite pro him. So I think there are some younger politicians out there who are subject to a little bit of understanding of how the world is turning. We have to take a break. We should have taken it 15 minutes ago, but Garvita, you were the cause of your long stories, which never ended and caused a lot of pain to lots of people across the country. No, I'm just kidding. We're taking a break, and that break is 4 seconds, and we'll come back with Silvery, who's also, well, he's a little older than you, but a lot younger than me, and does nothing for the environment. He just sits on his 10th floor house in Powai and spits on people on the road. And he's a very good, accurate 85% record of hitting people's scalps. Silvery, can you join us?
Phew.
There he
Sorry,
is.
I was just spitting on that
Yeah.
guy who was walking by.
And,
That.
and auntie, you deserved it. I just told her
Yeah,
from
correct, absolutely.
technology.
Yeah, I mean,
Where we
bald
are.
people all deserve it. Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Bye.
Ooh, as if there aren't enough prejudices. Now we go for the bald.
Yeah,
Okay, all
exactly.
right. Might as
Sorry,
well.
sorry, we have an ad read.
Yes, yes. I'd read for glasses and to save the environment. I have only one pair of glasses which I have patched up properly on this side. There you can see. Okay. Now, without laughing, pay attention to Uncle reading his ad, Akhilesh and Garvita rather. It's so difficult to understand so many things in the tech world, like artificial intelligence. What is that? It just sounds like science fiction, doesn't it? And now we have to do a fake laugh together, everybody. That's the best part of this ad. Luckily, though, Intel's digital readiness program empowers everyone with skill sets, mindsets, and tool sets to use in an AI fueled world so you don't end up like me. You all can laugh again if you want to. Silvery, your fake laugh sucks. Huh? You go back to spitting. Um, Very nice, very nice. As part of the Intel for Youth program, Intel's been working with the CBSE, Ministry of Education, and the Government of India to empower today's youth to build social impact solutions while demystifying what AI is. Don't laugh. How do you take advantage of that? Purchase an Intel Core powered PC and you get free access to 80 plus hours of immersive and hands on training about AI. On completion of the program, along with a certificate, you get access to AI toolsets to try to put what you learn to good use. So don't wait, log on to futurebanawonderful.intel.com. Future Bana Wonderful by bringing home an Intel powered PC today. Guys, don't waste time when the show ends. Promise me you'll go to futurebanawonderful.intel.com. Please. You don't have to
Yeah,
say yes, you
absolutely.
can just nod. That way you can
Yeah.
always say that whatever. It's not clear. Okay, Silvery, two young
All right.
champions already at age
Yes.
21 trying to change the world one street at a time, one bottle
Yep.
at a time. I mean, a lot of pressure on themselves because by 42 they should be like, I mean, huge. Forget
I mean,
Greta
really.
Thunberg and all that.
I
Yeah.
mean, I just wonder, like, really, like what you were saying, Cyrus. Like, I was doing nothing at age from ages 15 to 19 or 20. I was like literally just studying and bunking college and not doing any extracurricular activities, all that stuff. Oh man.
And in
At
both their
least you
Yes.
cases,
studied.
it says, we all came across some moment in our lives like this, but it's like a Manmohan Desai film almost, where, they made that cross. Like he took action
Yeah.
that very day where they could have beaten the crap out of him, honestly, which is exactly what he said. I mean, the four warden guys would have said, please get out. We're having a drink now. Don't waste our time. And it should have ended like that. But he stood his ground. And what about
Yeah.
hers? I mean, she just decided to take on a whole industry
Yeah.
with cold calling them or cold meeting them or whatever it was. I mean, and the fact that she got people to listen. So, which I don't think you and I are capable of doing. I would try for exactly 15 seconds. Uh,
Yeah.
you know, I call it the four ring philosophy. How many rings do you allow before you give up on a person? I give four rings. That's my patience level. They're the opposite. They call and call and call and call until the guy just has to answer, which is literally they
Yes.
broke down the doors. Yeah, so a lot of kudos to that. Silvery, what do you want to say to them? Any questions you want to ask them as a
Uh,
young man who represents the world for some
I mean,
reason?
there are tons of AMA questions. I think we should just get to them
I
because there's
think we
some
should go
very
to them
interesting
because
ones.
your wisdom is suspect. Yeah, fair enough.
I mean, yeah, fair enough. All right. AMAs. The first one comes from Prithvi. He says, question for Garvita and Akhilesh. What is your opinion on the PM's recent Water for All initiative and how best it should be implemented? Have you guys?
I think Garvita is best for answering that.
Also, I feel Akhilesh has a certain sarcastic veneer when it comes to politicians. I'm a little scared to put him on the show again. Garvita will be more diplomatic, I feel. Bolo ji?
I'm now worried since you have said that. But I think here's my view on initiatives, right? I want to talk quickly about even the initiative that the PM earlier had on building toilets, where he built 1 lakh toilets, right, for across the country. So my opinion, right, on these kind of initiatives is that there is less empowerment and it's still more of um, a notion of a one time support, right? So for example, the toilet was built. Now today there is no one who is going back and actually managing it. So many of these toilets are have drainage issues, leakage issues. No one's taking ownership because when they
Wow.
were made, none of them were it was not something that a person did on their own. Whereas if instead of the PM or even the government or anyone going and building a toilet for someone, if I would have given them a loan of some amount and said, you go build this toilet on your own, empower yourself, make yourself water independent, I would own that project and take care of it with everything that I had. So I think there is more need
But
for
Garvita,
this
may,
kind
may
of.
I just ask you? Not that I'm trying to take the prime minister's or politician's side ever, but so they build the toilets. Shouldn't the community then
Hmm.
come to the party as well? I mean, the fact of the matter that the toilets were built, and then I mean, we just turn around and say, now you do the maintenance as well. Shouldn't there be something from our side as well? Sometimes
Absolutely. But I think there is what happens is, right, because it's such a long value chain. Reaching that last community step is very often gets lost out. And all of these initiatives, I can't say, how good they are, to be honest. They're really well thought out. They're really well, built, but they need that end to end execution to have the kind of impact you want to see, which often gets or sometimes gets lost out. So that's just my personal view,
No, no,
and
fair
I
enough.
am more about individual empowerment, and really giving the ownership in the hands of people, and really making them believe that they own that change that has been made in their
No, I
lives
think
and
you all
their.
have earned the right to point out flaws in a system and say what they could have done with the same money and time and resources to get a better result. I think that's basically the point. I think that's absolutely fair. But Silvery has made a video on how to use a toilet, especially for rural India, where he sits on a toilet, he performs the act. We close up. There are 6 cameras being used. The footage is
Yeah.
sometimes repulsive,
Al-
and a lot of
Also,
people
I
have
do
thrown up watching it.
all the things you're not supposed to do, so that people know what you're not supposed to
Yeah.
do. I do all of that also.
That's why he was
Yeah,
chosen, because he's
Wow.
known to do all
yeah,
the
yeah.
things they're not supposed to do.
Correct,
Yeah.
correct,
Can
exactly.
you please share this video? Very
Yeah, yeah,
looking
absolutely.
forward
Garvita,
to
your life
seeing
will
it.
never be the
Yeah,
same.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
You
I
may
think
join
it can be
politics.
used in her
You
campaigns.
yeah, you may forget how to use the toilet properly after that. So just be careful. Just saying, it's very influential. It's
Yeah, there's a big story
yeah,
about Indians and flushing. I don't know, and I'm not talking now about rural India. I'm not talking about poor India, Garib, and all that. I'm talking about middle class India who takes Air India flights or the trains, okay, across the length and breadth of the country. So they have to pay for that big ticket. We just don't flush. I mean, it's just you travel by any other plane or train, and there's always a clean toilet. Why is it 15 minutes into a travel in India or on an Indian airline outside India? In 15 minutes, you don't have a chance in hell. You better make sure you're plugged properly for the rest of the flight, because you cannot enter that Buland Darwaza, the famous door.
yeah,
Silvery, what do you think? What's the reason for
absolutely.
that?
Yeah, yeah. Literally,
These are
yeah.
educated
It's
people.
immediately exactly, and immediately gets dirty the toilet
Yeah.
when the journey comes. I don't know. Yeah.
Maybe the Tatas will change all that when they take over Air India finally. Let's not digress. Next, AMA.
All right. The next one comes in from Gary Pereira. He says, I've heard about this enzyme that destroys plastic. Anyone knows if we are using it in India?
What?
There are
An
a few
enzyme?
initiatives which
Yeah, there's an
actually works
enzyme.
on it.
So I'll just explain to people who may not know. There, a couple of years back, there was this news report about the discovery of this enzyme, this artificially manufactured enzyme that was able to break down plastics, and the end result of that can be reused as a plastic in a variety of different ways. But it's basically breaking down plastic, and within
It
hours,
breaks
it
down
is
the
able to break down
molecular mechanism
exactly
of the plastic, big thing, into small
like
things which can then be
yeah.
reused.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And it's able to break down, like, say, a bottle of water in like a few hours. I think that's what the deal was. That's pretty great. It was as a
Which in the
discovery.
normal course would take like thousands of years to do.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's a good solution then. If you think plastic is untouchable and all that, if there's some way to actually remold it in some way and then reuse it in a short span
Yeah.
of time, isn't that good news? I didn't even know about this. If it's true.
It
So
is good, but just the thing is, like, bringing it to scale is where it comes challenging. So every solution actually exists. Like, we have solutions for most of the problems that we are facing right now. Bringing it to scale, bringing it into the hands of the people, and making use of it is where the challenge exists. And this doesn't exist just because we don't have a complete solution. It also
Akhilesh, brother, you guys are in charge of all that. We are giving you the enzyme. Me and Silvery have done our bit. We gave you the enzyme. We broke down the plastic, and now you're giving me logistical issues. Then you sound like a bureaucrat. I'm very upset now. Hey, Silvery, what the hell, yeah? We've done our part, right? We've got to work together here. Oh. So
Yeah.
you're
Yeah,
saying
but
this is not
we
good
need
news.
help from policymakers as well as companies to actually start either to have the interest to start working on it, and the regulations to actually help us
Who's the
to
Union
push it forward.
Environmental Minister? Who's the Environment Minister of India? Does anybody know?
Uh,
Or does it come under something
I
else?
don't.
Do we have an environmental minister? We have
Yeah,
women and children
We
development. We
do.
have animal husbandry. It's all separate. But do we have environmental minister? Google it, Silvery. Or let me call up the PMO.
The old one was Prakash Javadkar, but
Yeah.
I think he's kicked out.
Dowdekar, huh?
So
Okay.
yeah, but the new one hasn't said anything much controversial, so we don't know yet.
But
Yeah.
Prakash Javadekar was a good guy. You could at least talk to him. There's hope. Yeah. Although some people say it's not even the minister, it's more the guys under the minister who are the ones you have to reach. Because at the end of the
Bhupender
day,
Yadav is India's environment minister, is what it says.
Yeah.
did you say that with a
Shri
sarcastic
Bhupender.
sneer or with a smile of happiness?
I don't know yet. I don't know what party he belongs to. Oh, sorry.
Let's hope good old Boops can do something for the country. This is a
Yeah.
huge point. because half the world is divided on the fact that, look, why are you wasting time thinking about anything else except what these two warriors are doing, which is, you're really wasting time doing anything else because you're just killing the world. So if you think of it in priorities, they are sort of right. But then half the world just, I think we turn a blind eye. Like we get buried into our own personal problems. I have to pick up the car today from the mechanic. These small things, and you just let that take over, and you get away from the world problem, that perspective problem, the macro problem, so to speak.
Yeah.
Which I think is another big challenge for all of you all, because we all have our internal problems that we are fighting, and we just can't win those battles, and so we can't think beyond that. Maybe it's selfish, I don't know, but especially as you age, like I got to walk my dogs, I got to pick up the car, I've got a meeting with an accountant, then I got to talk to Silvery, then I got to shave my legs. That's just pleasure. So what do you say?
Akhilesh, okay.
Yeah.
I want to ask this, like, how difficult does it become working with governments or like government bodies? Are they always like
Isn't there any?
dismissive of
Is there any good news?
Yeah, there
yeah,
is
okay,
actually.
that's good.
So I can't say representing like a lot of different countries, like for the center or like for other governments, for
Stop
example. So,
dividing
but my
Kerala from the rest
experience.
of India. We know you're literate. We know you're very cultured. We know you're very intelligent. We know all that. And you're basically more law abiding than members of some of the North Indian states. But that's not the way to divide the country. It's all known. Nobody's arguing.
Okay, but we had a lot of positive response from actually the various government agencies, authorities, from the ministers, from various ministerial backgrounds and things like that, on various different issues that we were trying to raise. So one is coastal erosion. We do a lot of work in climate education. So we drafted the climate education curriculum for this for the education ministry here in Kerala. We did it in 2019, and we are keeping on updating the draft. But here is the where the problem is, like this they are talking to us. That's a big thing. They are happy to interact. They are taking our suggestions and things like that. It's kind of stops there. I would say some things go forward, some things get implemented, but some things you have to go back and forth
This
to
is the
keep
British
on reminding
Raj.
them.
Wonderful. The bureaucracy that they've set up for 200 years just to stall everything, but to have a pleasant smile and a cup of chai, over the meeting. Yeah. So what you're
See
saying is
that.
nothing actually gets pushed. It's
No,
very rare.
not
Like you
exactly
mentioned the
nothing,
coastal
but
areas and the work you did there, and how it didn't come bear fruition. It didn't bear any success.
it, we actually had a lot of success, to be honest, getting to them. So a lot of communities there. I personally am not from the coastal community, but I do work for them. So that's something that I have to put out. Like I cannot represent the coastal community, so that's one thing. But still, it's pretty sad that my kind of organization suggestions went to the minister's table, and the people who are actually from the coast couldn't do it initially. And I think the problem that arises is because the narration was different of the issue. We didn't say to stop the coastal development projects. We said to pause it and find solutions for the environmental concerns. And this just very small shift in the dialogue that we put out took us straight away to the minister's office. And the people who were actually trying to do that for a very long time, or the people who actually organization who were working with us to do the study, took a very long time, or had to take a lot of more effort.
Okay, I'm a little
This is
confused. Can I just ask? So you're saying that the whole coastal expansion thing that's going on, you're not against it. This is across India and all the coastal areas of India. It's going on. It's not like just to. I mean, Maharashtra has its own. Kerala has its own. So you're saying you're not against it. You're just saying that the inhabitants have to be looked after. So you need to figure that out as you continue with the expansion, or you're saying no expansion.
I'm not saying I will be completely towards the expansion, but this thing has been already laid down. Like we are late to the show. It's been like 5 years since the work has happened for the various harbors and ports and things like that. So if you stop it, that is also a major concern for the economy per se. Like it's
Exactly.
that yeah. So you can't exactly say stop it. You did this much development. Now you just stop it out and destroy the project. The major thing we can do is either pause it for some time, find a way to either relocate the people who might be affected, find environmental solutions. If coastal erosion is happening, how to solve it, using scientific methods to sort of solve it and then continue the process. Once you have started developing, it's been 5 years into it, you already destroyed
Yeah,
half the coast and things like that. Now
exactly.
if we say to stop it also, it doesn't make much sense. So but
Right.
that's
So I
also
think
change of
it's a
dialogue.
good
Yeah.
point you brought up, because most of us, like the Silvery and me, people who don't, well, we follow you, but the whole idea it's always us against them. That's what we get. Like no coastal work. No, I think compromise. Hate to say it, it sounds cowardly, but the compromise solutions are always the best. Because at
Yeah.
the end of the day, otherwise people just go berserk, one side or the other, misbehaving in one way or the other, and then retarding progress, as you said. So the whole idea is the cost of progress against the cost of human dignity, sometimes more than just livelihood, and sometimes actually livelihood and life. So I don't know. These are tough questions. I would not like to be in power. I'll tell you honestly, because you
Yeah.
do want to. I mean, expand your state, your city, your country, and all that. You want to, progress. At the same time, what do you do? And there are some people
but
living in a slightly
but that
different time
that's where
zone.
the problem happened. Like, you didn't do the real consultation with the people who are actually going to get affected. So you didn't tell them, this is what will happen. You didn't do proper study to understand the environmental impacts that can happen. If you just did, you would have understood, and you could have solved it and went ahead. So these are where, like, a lot of intricacies, complications arise up.
I have a solution, Akhilesh, and it's not a funny one. I'm thinking, why don't we outsource the ministries? For some time, you get the UP ministry and they get Kerala, for example. And then, the states decide after that whether it's working for them or not. Just give it a shot. I mean,
There's
he stopped.
actually Cyrus. There's a similar
Is it-
ideology in, but not outsourcing like ministries, but
No,
rather outsourcing these projects
yeah.
to private companies.
I'm looking at
Hmm.
neutral perspective, literally. Okay, this was the wrong example because it sounds comic. But if a neutral, see, there's the thing is that they are responsible to the voters. They're responsible to everybody else. So their entire decision is populist decision. Let's face it, right? They're always going to go bend. The politician will bend with where the populists he thinks are going to, emotionally be attached to this point or that point. But if you get a neutral person, then I think you can actually have a conversation, and two neutral people, you're looking after the coast, you're looking after expansion, and nothing else. Otherwise, what's happening is I think that it gets buried in the politics of the guy not able to take a proper decision because he doesn't want to lose his popular vote, whatever happens, or sometimes perceived popular vote. It's not even correct. It's just a thought. When you'll become prime minister and chief minister or whatever the hell you become, or head of the United Nations, the next great. By the way, will you allow the Taliban into the United Nations or not? What's your deal on that? Huh? Ab
No
batao.
comment.
Hai koi jawab? Garvita, what would you do?
No
United
comment.
Nation out there. What are you gonna do with the Taliban? Huh?
See, I think we would still understand that situation better and more in depth to say anything about
They
it.
are
It's
environmentally
been very
conscious.
complicated.
They are now not using plastic, ropes to hang people. They're using that old usable lariat or whatever it's called from choir. Or I don't know how to pronounce it. So just remember that they are doing their bit for the environment. What do you say,
Yeah.
Silvery? Yeah.
Yeah, they are great for the environment.
I also find they wear the same clothes for many days. So in a sense, isn't that good for the environment also because you
It
don't
is
need to
saying
keep
water,
washing
correct? Yeah,
water? Yeah,
correct.
water is
Yeah,
being saved.
yeah,
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
see them having baths. It's not
There was
a
a
popular thing.
there was a recent study by the World Economic Forum where they said washing your clothes less can have a huge impact in terms of saving water and pollution in the environment.
Oh.
That's why I am a firm believer in wearing the same clothes. And unless you're in the military or a watchman, normally it's not done, or the police. But I'm a firm believer in that. I'd like to wear the same.
Let's
This is my
normalize
gift.
it.
Uh-huh. So
I'm
remember
with
when?
you. Let's normalize it.
Yeah, come on. Why do you all have to keep changing? What is this fashion rubbish? Maybe give a ribbon or something. You can have a ribbon around your shoulder or neck or something. To give yourself a fashion touch. Come on, let's get one more in. We're talking too
Yeah,
much, Mr.
sure.
Silvery.
Harvesh Kasar has asked, hello all. Do you see the world leaders in global climate summits really concerned about the climate change and are genuinely working towards making the world a better place?
Well, how can you answer for all? No, there'll be like a mix, right?
Okay, sure. Garvita, Akhilesh, what do you guys say?
Scandinavian countries where Greta Thunberg and all come from, there's definitely a huge push. But of course, now you will say that they are in a richer sort of. Their priorities are different. So they allow when you don't have to run for food and water and whatever, you can think of more, self-actualization moments in your life.
No,
But
I think what he's trying to ask, I think Harvesh, is that it seems like world leaders very often just do lip service, like they just say what they think people want to hear, and then don't act on it, or at least are not like active in acting on these things
But
about
there's some 190
conserving plastics
countries,
and
no?
everything.
Surely not all of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably not.
So I
Akhilesh,
think
Yeah, Garvita,
Akhilesh,
going ahead.
Gavita, please go ahead.
Yeah,
he
sure.
dodges the questions which may be controversial. Also, this can't hurt him. So.
No, I think she's more diplomatic. So yeah.
No, here you can be honest. No, honestly, what do you think? I mean, I can't even ask you for a percentage because that's ridiculous. But
Yeah.
there will be both, right? There'll be the lip service guy, who does the. Okay, where do we stand? Come on.
I think it's very simple, right? And they talk about world leaders. So I think in today's world, right, it's called the VUCA world: volatile, ambiguous, uncertain. And in general, being a leader in today's world means being able to manage chaos, which I think is something very, very limited people can do. It's something that you get, with practice. And today, problems and issues are incredibly layered. There are so many.
You don't sound 21 at all. You sound like 15 years in politics. Because you're beautifully answering the question by giving me so many combinations and permutations that after some time I'll just give up. I'm telling you, go straight to a member of parliament. Huh. Sorry. Please go on. Yeah, so the
Uh,
problems are layered.
Obviously, problems are layered, and there are, like you said, a very there is a division between people who you see are taking action and those who are just like saying that they're going to take action. Um, but I believe that, given everything that they are trying to build, there is concern. I would not say that there isn't concern. I definitely see that there is concern amongst world leaders, at least those who care about making a difference. And there is concern in bringing back concepts and ideas and technologies from other parts of the world into exchanging those ideas, which is something very fascinating and new that I have seen happening. Exchange of technologies when it comes to solving the climate crisis. So I would say yes, there is concern, but there is more need for collective action, which means that while it can't be one or two leaders who speak about it, it needs to be their entire community as well as the community of people who are aligned, which is difficult because every human is so different. But the goal of I think what we are trying to do is to align everyone and to really bring those perspectives together and to tell you that this really matters and collective action is what is going to make a difference.
Akhilesh, what do you do when in your friend circle or people who are misbehaving with the environment or don't give a damn about plastic or recycling or whatever? You can just see them abusing all the so-called sustainability issues. How would you deal with them?
I think that was the initial challenge itself. Before you start, right now, we do class for like thousands of students. We need to start from changing it from our own home. Like, so I think I achieved kind of that from my own household. So like, my mom is so concerned about using plastic right now. Sometimes I might do it mistakenly, but she points it out and be like, you started this, now I'm doing it, now you start do so you have to have that conversations initially from your household, then to your friends and things like that, and then you kind of expand on that uh, to people. So because initially then only you'll understand what exactly works with them. What would what solutions that you say, like if you say all of a sudden stop dissing plastic, you really don't have the option to do so. Or whatever climate solution we are trying to push on people is not essentially very easy to take up. Like it would be like go vegan, like how do you do that, like all of a
Yeah.
sudden, like these things are very difficult because you're used to these over a very long period of time. You were socially conditioned to be in in this situation for a very long time, and it's pretty difficult to sort of shift from it very fast. So that's what we did. Like me personally did initially also. We were like try to reduce what you can, and then slowly kind of
Yeah,
work
I
on
think
it,
that's better.
expand it.
Don't
Yeah,
go for 100%. No one can do 100% inhuman to accept that. So I think just do
even if you
10%
say
first.
100%, they'll just won't be able to do even the bare minimum.
I've no,
Yeah.
I've done a bit. I've given up brushing my teeth. I have baths in 23 seconds. It's a world record in my area.
Yep.
And so I do little things like that. And I use the same clothes so I don't wash them too much. Silvery,
You
you'll have to
don't
give
you
up
don't
on
you
it
don't wash
for
the
a second.
underside of your plate
I
also.
don't wash the underside of my plate. I don't understand.
Yeah.
I've, like when we had to clean at home once everybody left the house thanks to migration, and I had to wash. I fought for men across India that why are we washing the back of the plate? We should only wash the front of the plate. They give me 10 plates. I wash the front. I'm not washing the black. The back of the plate is not used. It's on the floor. I mean, it's on the table. It's not being touched by anything. So and that revolution today, people talk about me in Wharton Business School, how I've changed the world. So, guys, you can also change the world.
Cyrus is also a
Pay
youth leader,
attention.
guys. Cyrus is also
No,
a youth leader.
yeah.
Or a
For
word that
the
rhymes with youth. Yeah.
UN.
Okay, guys, this has been exceptional. Thank you so much for being on the show and making us feel like old fuddy duddies who do nothing. But I'm sure you're going to get used to meeting many people like me and worse. And what is lovely is you're not cynical at all. Absolutely, I mean, you laugh and you're enjoying what you're doing, and that's great. Because some of these guys between you and me, when we meet them, they almost they preach to you and make you feel uncomfortable. And I don't think you're ever going to get any message across like that. So I think you guys are doing great work. Of course, you don't need an endorsement from me and Silvery, but really well done, guys. 21, unbelievable, really.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there's hope for India, Silvery. We have some youngsters who are achieving great things. Not
Yeah,
everyone is
absolutely.
shooting someone in a
And we
bar.
have great ideas from you. So there's hope for India.
Yeah.
Maybe
Yeah.
you use it on Bangladesh first or something, just let another country try it. And then when you feel the confidence, we'll do it on our own. But Garvita, Akhilesh, thank you very much for being on the show. Have a great week. Silvery, I'm
Thank
going to
you,
go now because
Cyrus.
I need to pee. And we discussed urine therapy and all that. And so I'm going to work on
Sure.
that and come back with a
Are,
proper formula.
are you going to the urine therapy?
That's what
Yeah.
I'm trying to work it out now how to do it. Yeah, I might. I may have to use my hand because I can't find a cup. Oops. On that pleasant note, bye bye everyone.
All right.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us
Bye
on the
bye.
show.
Thank you. Thank you so much for
Our
having
pleasure.
us.